Welcome to the next video. At the DNC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez formally nominated Senator Bernie Sanders for President of the United States. Now, this is a normal process where anybody who gets enough delegates is nominated, and then the delegates are counted, and then they check against the official threshold for actually becoming a presidential candidate. So this is a normal process, always happens, and the thing is, the news media kind of covered it in a disingenuous way because they suggested that AOC was trying to hijack the nomination for Bernie Sanders, when in fact it's just a formality that happens all the time. So the news media took a while to correct that reporting. So that was pretty, really disingenuous, to be honest. So she had 1 minute and 40 seconds approximately for her nomination speech. They didn't want to give a progressive very much time to talk at the DNC. So but she does pack a lot of detail into the speech, and it actually is one of the more substantive speeches at the DNC. So let me just do a quick summary in my own words, and then we'll listen and discuss just a little bit. So she wants 3 types of rights. She wants to guarantee 21st century social rights, economic rights, and human rights. So if you break it down, she goes into specific policies: guaranteed health care, higher education, a living wage, and labor rights. So these are kind of focusing on the common person, things that would help them. She wants to repair wounds of injustice, racism, bigotry, sexism, homophobia, misogyny, etc. So find ways where you can prevent these things from happening and or make amends for them into the future. She wants a reimagined immigration and foreign policy. Reimagined immigration system and foreign policy. So basically, as far as immigration goes, something that is fair, where we give people a chance to actually pursue the American dream. And foreign policy, probably, I assume she's suggesting let's not go to war on a dime. Let's make sure that we actually are, in general, respecting other countries and not going to war if we don't have to, not going to war for political reasons, in other words. And she speaks out against the unsustainable brutality of the income inequality and the wealth gap, the explosive wealth gap, where so few receive all the benefits of the economy at the expense of so many. And at the end of her speech, wrapping up right before she nominates Bernard Sanders, she talks a little bit about the current events, about having a better response to coronavirus. So she explains that all of these things were wrapped up in Bernie Sanders' campaign, and also this is what they represent to the Democratic Party. And like I said, this was one of the more substantive speeches compared to many other ones, where it's all mostly people talking about kind of just like virtue signaling here and there, or saying that, we have to come together. This is an unprecedented time. I mean, those words are definitely important, but you should back it up with policies. And so AOC did a good job in that regard of actually bringing something to the table. So proposing something like, in response to the problems that we have, what are we going to do? And so this is her speech at the Democratic National Convention nominating Bernard Sanders as one of the candidates that met the threshold to potentially be finally nominated. Of course, Joe Biden did secure the nomination with the most delegates. But let's take a look at the speech.
Good evening, bienvenidos, and thank you to everyone here today endeavoring towards a better, more just future for our country and our world. In fidelity and gratitude to a mass people's movement working to establish 21st century social, economic, and human rights, including guaranteed health care, higher education, living wages, and labor rights for all people in the United States. A movement striving to recognize and repair the wounds of racial injustice, colonization, misogyny, and homophobia, and to propose and build reimagined systems of immigration and foreign policy that turn away from the violence and xenophobia of our past. a movement that realizes the unsustainable brutality of an economy that rewards explosive inequalities of wealth for the few at the expense of long-term stability for the many, and who organized a historic grassroots campaign to reclaim our democracy. In a time when millions of people in the United States are looking for deep, systemic solutions to our crises of mass evictions, unemployment, and lack of health care, en el espíritu del pueblo and out of a love for all people, I hereby second the nomination of Senator Bernard Sanders of Vermont for President of the United States of America.
And just a few other comments here. In all honesty, the DNC really did stomp out a lot of policy from their convention and from their official policy proposals. So this is one of the examples where there is policy. However, this is not the official adopted policy. This is from the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. So obviously, since the Democratic Party is more corporatist, now that's not to say the Republican Party isn't corporatist. They're corporatist in the extreme. But in this case, they gave AOC very little time, and it's not a independent speech for her own time. It's just the nominating speech, which is a formality for Bernie Sanders, for the delegates he did win. And most people took note that the Republicans that joined the Democratic National Convention got way more time than even an actual member of the Democratic Party, AOC, who is an elected official. So, I mean, as far as like bringing everybody to the table, this is kind of a spit in the face of people who were basically supporting Bernie Sanders. Now, I am not suggesting that you shouldn't vote for Joe Biden. I'm just saying that, like, Democratic Party is going totally corporatist as usual. And that's a lot of the reasons why they often can't win elections. So if they would happen to lose in November, this would be one of the reasons, because they're going full corporatist mode, where it's just not a message that resonates with people. So if the voters don't turn out, you can say, well, there was less messaging like this, less messaging like what AOC is, giving a plan, and more messaging of just empty virtue signaling.